I respect you, I love you, I've said it in every interview, time and time again. And if that's not good enough with you, mama, then it's something deep-rooted in you.
What's up, YouTube? Welcome to my sacred space. My name is Lauren Victoria. I'm a mental health therapist and spiritual life coach. I specialize in healing and wellness through the intersection of mental health and spirituality. And in this video, we're going to have a conscious conversation about the one and only Nicki Minaj. Nicki is obviously that girl. She's an icon. She is a legend, and she has broken many records and set a lot of standards for any woman in the rap industry today. But what I think the public is starting to realize is that Nicki doesn't act like she believes it herself. No matter how many awards she gets, no matter how many congratulations she gets, she never quite feels respected enough. And this brings us to the topic of today's conscious conversation. I want to talk about karma, self-esteem, and the fear of abandonment, because I think that these are all themes that we can pick out of Nicki Minaj's story and apply to our own life. Now, you guys may or may not know, but Nicki Minaj has been beefing with a young 23-year-old rapper on Twitter. And honestly, all the details I could give to SHITs about. I think, though, what's important when we understand what's happening in this beef is that it is such a surreal dose of karma. It's such a surreal dose of karma. I literally had to pinch myself. You guys remember Nicki Minaj, when she came up, she had a lot of beef and conflict with Lil' Kim. Y'all excuse my cat, she's meowing. Nicki would antagonize and throw shots at Lil' Kim as often as she could, but then turn around and talk about how much she was inspirational and how much she respected and loved her. It was very confusing, to say the least.
I respect you, I love you, I've said it in every interview, time and time again. And if that's not good enough with you, mama, then it's something deep-rooted in you. You need to get something is bothering you inside. That's your insecurity bothering you. It's not Nicki Minaj. It would have been any girl that started popping. You know, she picked a fight with Foxy, then she picked a fight with Eve, then she picked a fight with Remy. Now it's, then it was Miss Wallace, then it was Nicki Minaj. Every time you in the news, it's because you getting at somebody. Where's your music? Put your music out, and when I see your name on Billboard, that's when I'll respond to you.
So there was a very nice, nasty, mean girl, frenemies attitude that Nicki Minaj had coming up. And I'm sure none of us need to be reminded, during this time, Nicki Minaj was the only female rapper. She came and usurped Lil' Kim for her Queen Bee role and literally dominated the game by herself for a decade. She broke records for the entire genre of hip-hop. She broke records for females in hip-hop. She launched into beauty and fashion. She was in movies. She had documentaries. I mean, her star power was beyond recognition. And I think, like with most people, that type of power can really get to your head. But baby, one thing I know and love about karma is that it doesn't operate on our puny concept of linear time, but it always comes full circle. I feel like in this whole beef with Lotto, Nicki Minaj is finding herself in the same seat that Lil' Kim was in.
Nothing to you. Yeah, you are.
Something that is clearly delusional.
It's delusional to say that other girls are flourishing.
Something that's stupid and misinformed.
It's
I'm the one acting crazy.
It's delusional to say that other girls are flourishing. Recognize we weren't giving the platforms that we're being given right now. And I give you props all the time in every other interview for opening the door for that to be a possibility now.
Okay. So what, in conclusion, what do you think you wanna say about, let's let you finish your statement about what rappers were doing before and what they're doing now. I want you to finish it.
I finished it, Nikki.
Okay.
I said for a long time it was you.
It was me.
Yes,
so
and
so
your
you didn't do your research.
What
So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have somebody send you the information about all the women in the last 10 years who have had Billboard recognition, worldwide global recognition, since you are clearly putting yourself above these people.
No, I'm not. That's the purpose I can't even think of the word, like just purposely trying not to understand what I'm saying.
You don't even understand what you're saying because
no, I know exactly what I'm saying. What I'm saying is it was you running shit for a long time. I never said that you're no longer running shit. I said there are other females flourishing. What is the problem with that?
The hard way. You're going to have to learn the real world and the industry.
Well, I love you and I will, regardless, you know what I'm saying, I'm going to support you from the sidelines. I feel from the sidelines because I can't do it publicly when someone is literally subtweeting me for no reason, purposely trying to misinterpret what I'm saying. I respect you too much to go back and forth with you. So I appreciate you for getting on the phone with me. The song lyric was recorded last year, way before any of this. And I cannot, you said, because you just said I like to say it's given, though. The it's given bar was nothing, it didn't have nothing to do with you.
And it's not going to benefit you. You understand? If people around you cared about you, they would have told you, that's not going to benefit you.
What's not going to benefit me?
Let me go. I have to do a Zoom. I'll hit you back. Thank you.
Now, I don't really follow celebrities. I don't be on their Twitters or their Instagram or anything. But I do watch YouTubers like Impressive who give breakdowns of what's going on. And one common thing that I see Nicki is always fussing about is not getting her flowers, not getting the respect, not being honored in the way that she deems appropriate.
I have gone out of my way to be open arms and loving and accepting. And I've been completely, people have been so fucking ungrateful. And it's disgusting. It's fucking disgusting. Till this day, I treat Foxy like she's the fucking queen of Egypt.
Right. I don't. Silence a classic.
So my thing is this: when you open the door for somebody, and then they come in and be like, all right, bitch, bye, bitch, you gonna be like, whoa, 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 whoa. My thing is this: you don't have to be nasty. You don't have to do that. You can acknowledge that you're inspired. It's okay. We know.
Y'all know I love archetypes. I love patterns and stories and themes and human behavior throughout all of history. And I keep going back to Edgar Allan Poe. Did y'all have to read The Telltale Heart in middle school? Because we did. In the story, the narrator, Kills, a man who he loved but also hated for his own reasons. He does that and then places his body underneath the floorboards of his home and proceeds to have people over for a party or something. And then he spends the rest of this book trying to act normal as if nothing happened, while at the same time, he's hearing the heartbeat of the old man under the floor. Now, nobody else can hear this, but he starts to question it in his mind because ultimately he knows what he has done. And in the book, it's really a representation of his guilt. It starts driving him insane. And in an act of desperation, he actually opens up the floorboard and shows everybody the crime that he committed. Well, thank you for the English literature lesson, Lauren. What does that have to do with Nicki Minaj? Let me cook, okay? Don't worry, I'm about to bring it full circle. So Nicki Minaj in this case reminds me of the narrator because there is a paranoia that the two of them share. I do think that Nicki Minaj is aware that she played a pretty impactful part in putting Lil' Kim's career in the quote-unquote grave. And according to many other rappers, she also had a lot to do with making sure other women could not shine while she was in her position of power. So there can be a certain level of guilt or fear that comes up and tells her, hey, these girls are out to get you the same way. They just want to use you for your fame and then dispose of you when they're done. In the field of psychology, we call this phenomenon projection. It's the reason that the man who is cheating on his wife is constantly asking to see her phone or trying to check on where she's been. The ego cannot handle the weight of the actions, so we place them onto someone else. Or on the other hand, the ego is so afraid of feeling that same pain that it becomes preoccupied, almost obsessed with pointing it out in others. So this is where I want us to first take the mirror and start to reflect on ourselves in this video. What are your intentions? How do you move? Where is your integrity? And what is that going to look like when your karma brings it full circle, whether that be 5 weeks or 5 years down the line? What is it that you tend to criticize, judge, or accuse others of mostly? And how is that a reflection of your own actions and how you view yourself? On that note, let's talk about self-esteem. I think it's very, very, very important to remember, as I mentioned, that Nicki Minaj was a pioneering woman in an openly misogynistic and male-dominated industry. Women were constantly disrespected and hypersexualized, so naturally, Nicki came into the game having to be on defense and have a chip on her shoulder in order to prove a point. And what history has showed us happens in these types of circumstances is the pedagogy of the oppressed. Oftentimes, the marginalized group or individual begins to identify with the thoughts, behaviors, and attitudes of their oppressor. And obviously, this filters the lens of how you see and value yourself.
Wayne would have like a new chick in the studio every session. So it was always a new big booty. I was like the little sister with Wayne and Mac and all these boys, and all I would hear them talking about is big butts. I didn't feel good as those girls. I think Wayne, and I think they said stuff sometimes jokingly, but it wasn't a joke to me.
Now, whether you agree with me or not, it is clear that the main value of women in the hip-hop industry has been tied to their desirability. That's past, present, and probably future. Like, let's be fucking for real. If Nicki was not as stunningly beautiful as she is, has she not had that crazy ass, like she was literally one of the pioneers of the BBL, at least as far as I know, and has she not feigned half of her persona around bisexuality, hence the Minaj in her name, when she was coming up, would she have gotten the same platforms? Would she have gotten the same attention that places her where she is now? The answer is no. It's simply no. And I'm not saying this to take anything away from her talent, but I am making a point that there has been a lot of external expectations and parameters that she has had to shapeshift and mold herself around, and that obviously filters how she sees herself, and that's a dangerous place to be in. When our esteem, self-image, and identity derives mostly from how we are perceived and validated, it puts us in very precarious positioning because people are fickle. Like, people will always change, and what they love you for today can be the same thing they're condemning you for tomorrow.
What is that mix between anxiety, nerves, matched with an extreme amount of confidence?
I don't know. I think when I was younger, probably my more natural state was to be more confident. But I think when you are a woman and you're in the public eye all the time, you, if you're not careful, you can become less confident because you're being constantly scrutinized, And I just don't think it's natural. It's not natural for a human being to just always feel like everyone's critiquing them. Like when I first came into the industry, I had this amazing sense of freedom because nobody gave a shit about what I was doing. Like I could get away with doing anything, and they were just like, oh, haha, Nicki Minaj. And then it goes from that to the complete opposite, where it's like, you know, if I blink my eye wrong, they'll have a story made up about why I blinked my eye that way. You know, it's just constantly being...
So how do you protect yourself from that? You don't read stuff about yourself on the internet, do you?
Whenever I am off of social media and I take that off my phone, I have this just enormous sense of peace.
I think that looking at Nicki Minaj today, we can all learn an important lesson about flexibility and change when it comes to our identity. What happens? Like, who are you when you are no longer the only female in rap? Who are you when you're not selling platinum records? What happens when your label mates and your peers don't respect your art anymore? What happens when Gen Z thinks that you're old and lame? Like, who are you when every girl next door has a BBL? Like, when everybody's a bad bitch? What's left? I mean, look, this is all speculation and theory. I am not Nicki's therapist, but what I can do is encourage us all to, again, take the mirror and reflect on ourselves. Where is it that you get your self-esteem from? What external values, accolades, and words of affirmation make you feel like you're worthy? And what happens if it's gone? I was talking to one of my clients the other day. They're a creative and they were feeling just discouraged and hopeless about their creative career. They felt like they weren't getting the attention that they needed. They felt like their peers were surpassing them, and they just wanted to know what they had to do in order to get the recognition from others that they deserved. And I told them, it seems like you're placing a lot of weight on how others perceive you. How do you know when you're proud of the work that you've done? Like, how do you know that you're happy with your creative process? And they couldn't give me an answer. They had spent so much time trying to prove themselves to others that it wasn't really about their own benchmarks. It was about meeting others. And I told them, when you play that type of game, you will always lose because the benchmarks of others will always be moved. In order to create a more stable self-esteem, we have to start with our own values. Now, that doesn't mean that we can't take pride in our external achievements, but we should be equally impressed by the character that it takes to make them. We should be equally invested in just being the best versions of ourselves, mind, body, and spirit. Because when we have that type of confidence, it is very hard for others to shake it. And I think that Nicki Minaj is a testament to what can happen when we let that external validation outweigh our internal value. We become slaves to others' approval and perceptions. Our development becomes arrested by whatever box we're told to fit in for the moment. And we all deserve better than that. Nicki Minaj deserves better than that. If you walk away from this video hearing nothing else, hear this. You cannot outperform your level of self-esteem. So it matters where your self-esteem is based in. Thanks so much again for tuning into another Conscious Conversation. My name is Lauren Victoria. I'm a mental health therapist and spiritual life coach, specializing in healing and wellness through the intersection of mental health and spirituality. I drop videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, so subscribe and don't forget to hit the notification bell.